Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Every American should know how to make an omelet, particularly if they're planning on ever having sex with anybody. I mean, it's the least you can do is make them a goddamn omelet. Wow. One thing I don't want my daughter to know is any chefs, please, baby, don't become interested in any chefs. I mean, I can't stop it. You have good martial arts skills and high self-esteem, but please, stay out of the restaurant business. Drink a cola, smoke a joint, if legal where you are. Then as soon as the nausea and self-loathing abates, eat some really spicy food. I particularly recommend like leftover, like Sichuan food, or Kung Pao chicken, or anything super spicy and greasy. Oh, aspirin, a couple of aspirin. You've got to have that. I love making my daughter school lunch. It makes me very happy filling the little plastic Tupperware containers with her lunch and trying not to repeat myself. I love sending her to school with stuff that the other kids don't have and never will have. When my daughter shows up at school and opens up her little lunch box and it's like Spam musubi, and like all the other kids are like, yo, what's that? She said, that's Spam musubi, that's all right. My dad made it. Yeah, that's right, bitches. Sometimes, late at night, I may or may not find myself craving like some generic, like Popeye's macaroni and cheese, or maybe some fried chicken. I don't hate that. I like to get in and out without being recognized. I will put on a hoodie. It's a terrible thing. You're halfway out the door. I think I've made it. And then somebody's like, oh, Anthony Bourdain. Oh, dude, what are you carrying there? So if you ever been caught like coming out of a porn shop, it's embarrassing. I've had enough reasons in my life many, many, many times to hate myself in the morning. But, the kind of hate for myself I feel after a big, wad of chicken McNugget is pretty intense. And deserved.
Oh, my God. I'm shocked. I'm sickened. It's tragic. It's, wow. I don't know what to say. Honestly, the people who are loyal clients of ours and, been with us for a really long time, that I am a super fan. I never met Anthony Bourdain. I don't know Anthony Bourdain. I don't know anybody who does know Anthony Bourdain. Maybe somebody in this audience knows Anthony Bourdain, but the audience knows that I love Anthony Bourdain. I have an entire Pinterest page with nothing but tattoos that I hope to get one day, and photos of Anthony Bourdain and a couple of Clark Gables, Tom Hanks, and a Sean Connery, mixed in, like real men. I love human men. I love men that are just the most down to earth, mostly Jersey boys. And Anthony Bourdain is a Jersey boy. Anthony Bourdain struck me as the most human of humans, and in the end, it turns out he really was. He really was the most human of humans with. Things that, it's like you think you know somebody because you listen to them or because you watch them and you really don't. You really don't know. You don't know what their private life is. You don't know what their traumas are. You don't know what their sadnesses are. You don't know what their real joy, where it really comes from. But I gotta say, the reason why I loved him was not just because he was cool and not just because he was funny, and he was. I mean, he seemed to be able to go anywhere in this world and say the thing that relaxed the entire room. He seemed to be able to go anywhere in the entire world and ask simple questions that would promote real conversation. Or he knew to go to a country that he had heard about was hostile to the United States and notice that people were smiling at him and inviting to and divorce himself from all the propaganda, like when he did the show from Iran. I remember when he went to the Middle East countries. I remember when he went to Jerusalem. I remember when he went to the West Bank. I remember when he went to Gaza. I remember when he went to Beirut, because I've been watching since No Reservations on the Travel Channel. So, I remember in 2006 he was in Beirut, and, he was filming a food show, and all of a sudden a freaking revolution broke out, and the rest of the show was about, the Marines getting him out, and it changed him. It made him pivot just a little bit, and he went back there. and loved it. He went back like 2-3 times. The Iran show. He said, you know, he said that it was the most pro-America place he had ever been. And that it was amazing because all the crap that you hear in American media or on the TV or from politicians was exactly the opposite. And he said it's complicated. It's a complicated place, but it's a very different place than what you hear about from the news. He said, nowhere else has the disconnect been so extreme between what one sees and feels from the people and what one actually experiences. You know, he said, I have said that Iran is the most outgoingly warm, pro-American place we've ever shot in, and that's true. In Tehran, in spite of the fact that you are standing in front of a giant snarling mural that reads "Death to America," we found you will usually be treated better by strangers, meaning smiles, offers of assistance, curious attempts to engage in limited English, greetings and expressions of general goodwill than anywhere in Western Europe. You know, and this, I just admired everything about him. You know, I think, like, I tweeted this morning that, you know, the reason why I admired him because he was the dream is not dead, but he was a part of the dream that the world would understand that we are one human race. You know, and he worked really hard to show, even in complicated places, that people are more alike than they are different, that, you know, everybody has the same love of family. Everybody had the same love of friends. Everybody has the same love of food and their culture and music, although he had very strange taste. I remember the episode with Iggy Pop. Now, I got to say, when I was like 13 years old or 14 years old, I used to listen to talk radio on the FM. There was a guy, he's still alive, his name's Alex Bennett. I did get to meet him later in life, and he was like in awe of me and how what I had no idea that I was like his super fan, but I was. And I listened to Alex. He had a talk show on WPLJ in New York at 2 o'clock in the morning. Seriously, I was a troubled child. My day began at 2 a.m. And I would tune him in. And he used to do interviews with punk rockers. And one of them was Iggy Pop. And, you know, I remember being so in love with Iggy Pop. And this is another thing I shared with Anthony Bourdain. And Iggy lives somewhere in Miami now. And I hope that this message gets through to him, that I embroidered Iggy on the back pocket of my Super Elephant bells. Okay, really, I was just such a fan. And when I found out, I mean, there was just so much, you know, that you could relate to him over. Even his weird taste in music and punk rock and metal and all the things I like. But he spoke his mind. He really was a protector of women. He was sexy. He was smart. He was actually brilliant. He had swag. I'll tell you, Howard, the only person I know, the only man in the world who isn't in the world anymore, that Howard was ever jealous of was Anthony Bourdain. And even when he went, you want to see where I grew up? You want to understand where I grew up? Okay, Anthony Bourdain literally went all around the world to far-flung places, and he also crossed the river from Manhattan to my borough and covered Queens, did a whole show on where I grew up. And if you want to know why I have such a love of traveling and why I have such a love of other cultures and why it's embedded, you know, in me to view the race of humans as one human race, okay? Why it's embedded in me to always cross the river, always walk in somebody else's shoes, always taste their food, even if it's, you know, bunny heads and fish heads and goats and brains and livers and kidneys, okay? Even if that's what they're eating. You know, this is why, because this is where I grew up.
Interested in wonderlands where you can eat your way through various countries of Central America, Asia, Africa, immerse yourself in cultures not your own? You don't have to go far. It's right across the river.
Together.
A magical place, an enchanted wonderland of diversity and deliciousness called Queens.
Yeah, baby.
I walk out the door every day, and everybody here is a hustler. Everybody's trying to make it.
Yep.
It's the borrowed dreams.
I love this place, and you know, if the American dream is alive, I think it's alive in places like Queens.
I want to show you.
If I'm not traveling out of the country, then I can travel here and still be in the world.
That is where I grew up. That is where the hustle comes from. That is where the American dream is possible. That is where you want to immerse yourself in everybody. You understand that everybody has a culture. Everybody gets along. Everybody wants to make it. Everybody helps everybody. It's where, I just, listen, a lot of stuff that Anthony Bourdain probably ate, and a lot of, I saw him eat squirrel in West Virginia. I mean, a lot of the things that he filmed, they may not be your flavor. They might not be your speed, but it's all worth the experience. It's all worth tasting. It's all, and you know where the deliciousness comes from? It comes from having the memory of doing it. It comes from the trying. You may not have liked it. Some people like calamari. Some people think, oh, it's squid. But it's the experience of eating it's the experience of listening to the music. You might not like it. It might not be your speed. It might not be your flavor. But without fear, you should try it all at least once. Just once.
One thing he did, Randy, which was really admirable, is if there was a local plight, he used his platform to expose it. If there was something going on and he felt injustice or something that needed to be talked about or shown, he did that. He used his platform to give others a platform. It was pretty admirable.
I mean, I just think of him as somebody who, saw the world as being connected more than disconnected. I think he saw the world as being complicated and yet simple. I think he saw the dichotomy in everybody's life, but he also saw the commonality that everybody loves their children. Everybody loves their friends. Everybody loves their culture. Everybody loves their food. And these were common denominators. These were the bonds. Instead of focusing on the division and the hatred, he just viewed it as being complicated and yet utterly connected, one person to another, one human being to another. The guy, what I think he really did was build bridges. He built bridges to other cultures. He built bridges to between human beings, and whether it was by showcasing their food, which of course he's famous for, or showcasing their music or their sexual proclivities. He showed bondage. He just did an episode in Tokyo. He loved Tokyo. I got to say, I can't tell you how many episodes he did in Japan. But the last one, the one that's coming up on Sunday is Berlin. And I got to say, this is one thing that really sticks with me, though, about, because I read his blogs. I mean, he has a blog, and he had a Twitter feed, and he was very active on this Twitter feed. The girlfriend that he had for the last 2 years, she actually gave a speech at Cannes, at the Cannes Film Festival, and said that when she was 21 years old, she's an Italian actress. She's now a directress. And she went to the Cannes Film Festival, and she gave a speech about how she was raped by Harvey Weinstein when she was 21 years old. She actually left Italy because Italy was shaming her, making her believe she was responsible for her own rape, and so she left. But anyway, Asia Argento, is Anthony Bourdain's girlfriend. And remember, some of the listeners told me he was dating somebody when I first came back, when we first brought the show back 2 years ago. And I was very upset, I have to say. But she gave this speech, and she said, I'm giving this speech here at the Cannes Film Festival because this is Harvey Weinstein's old hunting ground. And Bourdain supported her, said she was the bravest person, what an honor it was to know, and got very involved in the Me Too movement, got very, very involved. She even said today, that he was her protector, her rock, her soulmate. I mean, she's a lucky woman, but I swear, the amount of grief that I feel, I can't even imagine what they're going through, people who actually knew him. And Eric Ripert, who is a French chef who's like a great, great friend of his from what I saw in these episodes. Eric Ripert found him this morning in a hotel room, and it just, I don't know. It's just that a man full of so much joy could be so sad, painful.
all things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
There is no better place to entertain a leader of the free world, in my opinion, than one of these classic, funky, family-run noodle shops you find all over Hanoi. Dinner and a beer cost about $6. I'm guessing the president doesn't get a lot of state dinners like this. How often do you get to sneak out for a beer?
Very rarely. First of all, I don't get to sneak out, period. But once in a while, I'll take Michelle out on a date night. The problem is, part of enjoying a restaurant is sitting with other patrons and enjoying the atmosphere. And too often, we end up getting shunted into one of those private rooms at the back.
Well, I'm glad I could help, and to many more cold beers.
Absolutely.
Yum, yum, yum.
All right, you're going to have to...
I will walk you through
You're going to have to walk me through this.
We're about to eat bun cha. And it is about as typical and uniquely a Hanoi dish as there is. These beautiful little pork patties, roast pork belly. Bun cha is served in a broth of vinegar, sugar, and the ubiquitous guac mam, or Vietnamese fermented fish sauce. Chilies to taste. I mean, if you have an important state function after, you might not want to go do that.
I'm going with this thing. You know, we're going to do what's appropriate.
A little vinegar.
All right.
And then you just hack off noodles. You just drop them in your bowl.
Yeah, it's not too elegant, but I'm managing.
And you dip and stir and get ready for the awesomeness.
I'm ready. Now, is it appropriate to just pop one of these whole suckers in your mouth, or do you think that you should be a little more...
Well, slurping is totally acceptable in this part of the world. It takes some skills, by the way, to handle these sticky cold noodles. But whatever your opinion of the man, the president has those skills.
I mean, if we were going to have a celebrity president, right? You remember when they used to say Obama was a celebrity and that was what was bad about him? But if we really were going to have a celebrity president, why couldn't we have Anthony Bourdain? Why couldn't we? Why can't we? And you know who I would like? Charles Schultz, maybe. I don't know. I have to learn more. Of Starbucks stepped down. He might run for 2020. I mean, honestly, why in the world, if we're going to have a celebrity president, do we have to have this particular celebrity president?
There will be more pardons. I thought Alice yesterday was beautiful. I thought Jack Johnson, which was recommended by Sylvester Stallone and some great boxers, I thought Jack Johnson was a great one. I'm thinking about somebody that you all know very well, and he went through a lot, and he wasn't very popular then. And he wasn't very popular then. No, I'm not thinking about O.J. But he's not. Only you could say O.J. But he was not very popular then. His memory is very popular now. I'm thinking about Muhammad Ali. I'm thinking about that very seriously. And some others. And some folks that have sentences that aren't fair. But I am thinking about Muhammad Ali.
What
will it take for you to fire? In fact, we're doing right now recommendations on, frankly, we're doing recommendations on Muhammad Ali.
Give him fake briefings.
What does that even mean?
It means they'll tell him stuff. He won't know the difference.
Maybe that's what they're doing. Because Muhammad Ali doesn't need a pardon, okay? You have a celebrity president, a reality TV star who's floating a pardon for Muhammad Ali, who doesn't even need one. Because, two things. President Jimmy Carter. Now, the reason why Muhammad Ali was convicted was because he was a draft evader openly said he would not serve in Vietnam when he got his draft notice to protest the Vietnam War. And he was found guilty of draft evasion, but his conviction was overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court 8-0. I mean, it was unanimous. It was like 8-0. Somebody sat it out, but 8-0. And then in 1972, you would think that the president of the United States would know what other presidents of the United States did because there weren't that many to know. But President Jimmy Carter issued a blanket pardon for all draft evaders. Now, you might say, including Donald Trump. No, and Donald Trump got a deferment, a health deferment. He had bone spurs. This is cadet bone spurs. Remember that? But no, for all the people who openly protested the war and refused to go, Muhammad Ali was like a king among young 19-year-olds when he did that. So maybe when young Muhammad Ali got convicted of draft evasion, young Donald Trump tried to write an op-ed attacking him like he did against the kids in the Central Park Five. I don't know. Maybe he was advocating for the death penalty against Muhammad Ali, and now he feels bad. But, Jimmy Carter issued a blanket pardon to everyone convicted of draft evasion, and that was back when you didn't have to have an impressive profile on IMDb to get a presidential pardon. I mean, you realize we're having like a celebrity pardon sweepstakes now. Sylvester Stallone, he asked for Jack Johnson, posthumous. Like I said, props to Kim Kardashian. She saved a human life. I don't care what anybody, has against her. I don't. Okay? I just don't. Yes, and it's interesting that Rudy Giuliani is calling people whores and saying that they don't deserve respect, but Kim Kardashian is literally famous because of a sex tape. Okay, literally famous. And Rudy Giuliani is out there saying, and Melania actually did nude photos. And, Rudy's saying women that sell their sexuality in some way, shape, or form are not to be, they're not less than human. They're less than human beings. They don't deserve respect, and they're not worthy of being believed on any topic. I mean, it's just so weird. But, here we have a president who finally turned the presidency completely into a TV show. And if that's the case, why couldn't we have Anthony Bourdain? Why couldn't we have him? Rick in Los Angeles.
Yeah, Randy, I was very saddened to hear about
it was devastating. You know how I heard of it? I woke up this morning and Howard was already up, and he said he saw me jump out of bed, because that's how I approach the day, And so he said to me, something happened and you're not going to like it. And I thought, oh my God, something happened to my mother, or something happened to the dog, or, really. And he told me, and I was like, I was in shock. I didn't move. I just stood there. I went, what?
Yeah, no, I was like gobsmacked.
Yeah, exactly.
I got up a lot later than you did, but I heard the news on CNN. And, yeah, it's like, you just wonder. I guess he figured he'd done what he really know. I mean, I don't understand how these people who seemingly are so successful on the outside have all these demons. Well, maybe that's why they're so successful.
Well, I will tell you that, I at the height of my absolute success, this is a little, scary story, but at the height of my absolute success, when it went national and I was in New York, that whole experience there made me so sad and depressed. I mean, literally, functionally depressed, okay?
Right.
That I lived on the 9th floor on Park Avenue, of all things. I mean, it looks on the outside, everything looked perfect, right? But it was such a strange and horrible experience for me. That
fame is very tough.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's really hard. But beyond that, I every morning I'd wake up and I'd look out my window, and the first thought I had every morning was, well, I only live on the 9th floor, so if I jump out the window, I might not kill myself. I might only break a few things.
Oh no!
Every morning.
Oh, that's horrible.
It was horrible. It was it was the worst time of my life, I have to tell you. And then people spreading lies about you, and I actually fell in New York, and my teeth got knocked out, and the lies that were spread about. I mean, even when you're at your lowest and you're in the most pain, people take these shots at you when you're least prepared for it, and you just don't want it anymore. You just don't want it. And I tell you, if I didn't have cowardice. Okay, that's what worked for me. If I wasn't a coward about taking my own life, I probably would have.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that, I guess until you're there, you can't really understand.
No, you can't. And when it's all so self-consuming, when it's all you think about every single day, when it's what you think about first thing in the morning and last thing at night, and when that's the time when you don't want to pick up a phone and you don't want to call a suicide prevention hotline, and that's the time you need to. But for me, the only thing that saved me was sheer cowardice. I was terrified that this is another weird story about me. Okay, I always say I love porn. I do. I love porn. I always have, and I know it's wrong. I know it's wrong. To a lot of people. But when I was a very, young kid, I had a boyfriend who was 4 years older than me. I dated Michael for, 10, 15 years. I mean, he was my steady boyfriend, and I still love him. We're still friends, and I adore him. But we went to a porn movie. We went to see The Devil and Miss Jones. And I don't know if you remember that movie. But
I think so.
Okay, but here's the message I got out of it, okay? The story of The Devil and Miss Jones is that she was virgin, and she died without ever having sex. And so the devil, when she killed herself, she went to hell because she killed herself. And she killed herself because she was a virgin, and she was scared to have sex. So when she went to hell, the devil, taught her all this sex, and she loved it. And then her final punishment in hell was to be in a room with a man who was impotent and didn't care about sex for the rest of her life. And so, I swear to God, and so the message I got from that movie was, believe it or not, that if you kill yourself, you go to hell. Now,
well, yeah, that is sort of the evangelical,
They should love this movie. They should embrace. They should embrace this movie. Because that is really the message I got from it. And so all these many years later, as an adult, I'm in New York. I'm, at the height of, the money and the apartment and the car came to pick you up every day, and you're working with celebrities. Al Franken has the show before you, and Janine Garofalo has the show after you. It should have been just, and it was the worst time. It was the best time and the worst time all at once. And, so I understand it. I really do. I understand it.
No. I mean, I can see that. I was just in trial in San Francisco. My client is a multimillionaire, and he was in the foreclosure business, posting and publishing, and he paid for everything, paid for my lunch, paid for my dinner. I've never had clients do that before. And the guy was just incredibly gracious, and he says, no. I believe you me. I've done a lot of things in my life that I'm not proud of, and despite all the money, I think he still, it still kind of did something to him to some extent, It's just,
there's all different reasons. I was very proud of the work I was doing, but I was I was beaten to a pulp by the people inside that operation, and I was mocked in public, and I was, lied about in public. And Gawker, thank God that thing's out of business, because they printed some of the most heinous lies about me. They called me a drunk, and everyone that knows me knows I don't drink. Maybe Friday night. Friday night I have a couple beers. It's it's always beer o'clock on Friday, but that's it. I mean, and to lie about a person like that, and to take have the paparazzi outside your apartment when your teeth are broken. The whole experience, it's just so suffocating, and the people that I worked with and for did not have my back.
Total Janus people, right? Total two-faces, huh?
Total two-faces. Every last one of them. I can't even. I can't tell you one person there that showed up to be a friend to me. And I also got sick after that. I was in the hospital. And the only person that actually came and visited and sent flowers was Al Franken's wife. That was it.
Oh,
Franny.
Yeah.
Franny Franken is a wonderful human being. The rest of them. Honestly, the second there's bad press about you, or they don't know what to believe, they turn their back on you. They don't. It's like they don't want to damage their brand by having their brand next to a brand that's been trashed in Gawker. I mean, it's so self-serving, and it's so isolating, and it's so survival of the fittest. Even in a place that's that can't fail, because if it fails, then they're going to be able to say that nobody wants to hear what progressives are offering, and it's a lie. It's a lie.
Yeah,
and I was the only non-famous person there. It was me and the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur.
Right.
We were the only one. And even to this day, Cenk and I, he doesn't talk to me. And I don't know why. I shared my producer with him. We did everything, that we could to make that show successful. And I don't get it. I just don't.
Well, you're a very cool lady. I don't know why somebody would stop talking to you, Randy.
Because the bad press, okay? If you are a person of substance or means or whatever, and you get bad press, everybody turns their back on you. You are so isolated. You are so on your own. And when the whole torture thing happened, and I was getting sued by a defense contractor.
Oh, yeah, good old khaki.
Oh, my God, I fought that fight so hard. I fought that fight with every ounce of strength I had. I prevailed. They appealed. We went to the Fourth Circuit Court, the most conservative court in the United States, and I prevailed again. And through that whole thing. You know what the management was saying to me at Air America? They were saying, just back off. Just don't say anything. And everybody else, all the other hosts, we're not going to cover it. We're not going to cover it because we don't want to get sued. We don't want to ruin our brand. Let her take the bit. I mean, this is what it's like.
Cowards. You know?
But in this way, I say I'm a coward too because I couldn't kill myself, and I wanted to.
Well, thank God you didn't, Randy. I mean, I've been there as well, and I can understand it, and I don't hold that against anybody because life is hard, and you just don't know what other people have experienced and what they've suffered, you know?
Yeah, you don't.
Okay, well, you take care. I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
about the sadness of today.
Yeah, and it broke my heart. And at first I thought maybe he just drank too much or did something, but he hung himself. And we know a lot of people here that have done this. Too many people that have done this. And like I said, the only thing that saves me or saved me when I was in the bowels of depression, which just grabs you full body, was cowardice.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
It used to be the G8 because Russia was in it.
Oh, my God.
And now Russia's not in it. Now, I love our country. I have been Russia's worst nightmare.
What?
If Hillary got in, I think Putin is probably going, man, I wish Hillary won because you see what I do. But with that being said, Russia should be in this meeting. Why are we having a meeting without Russia being in the meeting? And I would recommend, and it's up to them, but Russia should be in the meeting. It should be a part of it. Whether you like it or not, and it may not be politically correct, but we have a world to run. And in the G7, which used to be the G8, they threw Russia out. They should let Russia come back in because we should have Russia at the negotiating table.
What is wrong with... Okay, here's the reason why Russia is not part of the G7 anymore and why there is no G8 in the G7. It is because Russia invaded his neighbor. In 2014, Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine and annexed Crimea. And you can't invade your neighbors and be part of an elite group that makes trade policy that affects the entire world. Okay, you don't get a seat at the table. That's your punishment. And then subsequently, Russia hacked into the United States and stole Hillary Clinton's emails, stole Podesta's emails, hacked into the software that was in our voting machine, and he wants Russia at the table. I swear to God, and if we're going to have a celebrity president, can we have somebody that's a little more respectable, like, I don't know, Bill Cosby would be better. He'd just be out there saying, pull your pants up, and, not talking about himself. I mean, this is just so... I'm sickened by this man. I truly, it may not be politically correct, but we have a world to run. And by we, he means him and Putin. He means him and President Xi. He means him and every freaking dictator. Tuesday is the big Singapore summit, right? And then Friday next week, we'll find out if Manafort has to go to jail, right? Because he's been witness tampering while he's out on bail. I mean, next week's going to be a doozy, is all I can say. Richard in Chicago.
Hi, Randy. How are you doing?
It's a strange day. A lot of feelings,
I was asleep and a friend of mine texted me to let me know that Anthony had passed away. And the first thing that I usually do is Google and to see if a celebrity has indeed passed away, because oftentimes there are hoaxes and whatnot. But I was very saddened to see that indeed he did take his life.
Yeah.
And I never met the man personally. I wish I could have, but I did interact with him on Facebook, just like I interact with you on Facebook.
Oh, I know who this is. You're the Snoopy boy.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And Anthony would often, I would leave comments. He would like my comments. Sometimes he would respond. And him and I were friends of another person that used to work for him. And about several months ago, Anthony sent me a message. And he wanted to say thank you. Thank you for supporting me and for supporting my career and adventure. And I was taken back because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't someone that hacked his account. But he did indeed reached out to me. And, you know, his loss hit me hard because I don't often say it, but it gave me the strength to say it today that, you know, I tried to take my life in '88.
Did you?
Yeah.
I bet you I could talk to 100 people today who could tell me the same thing.
Yes.
I mean, this is just an epidemic. And, you know, it's really strange, but, you know, we had Kate Spade at the beginning of the week. We have Anthony. Both of them hung themselves.
Oh, God.
I know. And it's just, there's a report that just came out that suicide is up by like 30% in this country.
Yeah, I seen that today. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a new epidemic that's sweeping our nation, and I think it has a lot to do with the division. I think it has a lot to do with the opioid addiction, and I also think it has a lot to do with poverty and people. But it also, you know, like in my case, I'm trying to show you, you don't have to. You know, I was poor. You know, I didn't have enough money to pay the bills.
Right.
That's what I consider poor. But then, you know, when I got very, 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 very close to, you know, doing something, I was making more money than I ever made in my life. So that's not it.
Yeah.
It's not it.
It's not it. You know, I wrote a book.
It's about losing connections.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about losing connections.
Right.
So,
right. And I outlined that depression does not discriminate.
No.
I mean, you could be rich, you could be poor.
Yes.
You can have everything in the world. In my case, it was because of my social networking, and that affected me. So, I mean, it can hit everyone. And when I say it doesn't discriminate, it can hit everyone from age 5 to 95.
Oh, yeah.
It does not discriminate. And we're losing too many people like Anthony. I mean, you know, he was like you. I mean, you are a gentle soul. And the people, I was very privileged to get to know that side of him. And I'm going to tell you one more thing, and I'll let you go. His last episode in Hong Kong, when he had the privilege of meeting an idol, Christopher Doyle, and in the opening scene, he stated that I'm happy to be here, but I feel very, very lonely. And that stood out with me. And now, thinking about it, now, it just sounded like that was a cry. Letting everyone know that you know, all was not well with him.
Yeah, it is for me, and I guess for you too, and it seems like, you know, in this case also, it's about feeling isolated, and it's about, you know, losing connections with people, and it's about, you know, being in a place where, you know, you could be at your professional best, okay?
Yeah.
But if you're going home and you're not home enough, or you're going home and it's empty, or you're going to work and the people around you don't get you, or they're scared of, you know, bad press, or they distance themselves from you because you're fighting for something that, you know, takes a lot of energy and effort, and they don't want to, you know, exert that energy with you, and so they just leave you out there to dry, you know, hang to dry. It does something horrible. Social media, you know, getting trashed on social media, you know, all this stuff. It really, truly isolates you. It's and being lonely and losing connections is probably one of the most devastating things, because humans have a natural desire and an inclination and
affinity to be with others.
Yeah, with
like
other
ourselves.
Well, not just
not
like
us.
No, just need to be with people who care for you.
Right. And
People
that's one
who
of the-
listen to you, people who appreciate you. Just to have somebody smile at you sometimes can make the whole difference in your day.
Right. And what helps me make it through the day is to have the diversity of friends like you, because I have friends who are from the hood, and I have friends who are celebrities, and we all have one thing in common: we are human beings.
Exactly.
And we have to have that need for love and reassurance.
Yeah.
And
Everybody does. Everybody needs it. Everybody needs to know they're okay, just the way they are. You're okay, and I see you, and I hear you, and you smile at them, and you listen. I have this little practice, ever since all of this, racism has come to this nasty, ugly, whitehead pimple thing. That I moved into when I built this place. I moved into a Haitian neighborhood. I love it here, and so I'm really, really acutely aware of everybody around me and how friendly they've been to me. I smile at everybody every single day. Every single day, and their face changes. You look at somebody and you think maybe they're in a bad mood or something like this, or you don't feel a connection to them. But the second you smile at them, they smile back. Like there was a girl leaving the office the other day, leaving a different office from me because we're in a commerce park, and she was staring at herself. And we have like reflective windows, and she was staring. And I looked at her and I said, "Yeah, you're cute." And this girl who was like, looking, distant, all of a sudden she just her whole face lit up and she started laughing and joking. Right. Dude, I know that it made her day to have somebody say something fun to her that didn't look like her, that she might have thought wasn't friendly, and you could see the whole face change. You could see the whole person becomes the whole person right in front of your eyes. It's an amazing thing to do. And so I just beg people to please just smile at strangers. Just smile at people. It will change the entire experience of your life. Truly, it's just such a simple, easy thing to do. Guy in Georgia.
Yes. How are you doing, Randy? I finally got to get a chance to talk with you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. I've listened to you since Air America days, and I bet you've never talked to anyone from the Weather Channel before.
The Weather Channel?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Hi.
Yes. Yes, I had a nice 31-year career. I was one of the Weather Channel pioneers from 1983 to 2014.
Oh, then you know Brian Norcross.
Oh, yes.
Well,
yes.
Oh, you never have?
Go ahead.
Well, Brian is in my book, too.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Brian Norcross is in my book because I cover the 1992, the hurricane, Hurricane Andrew. Right, was huge. And Brian Norcross and our radio station was the only thing left broadcasting. We were the only, and even Brian Norcross's station got knocked off the air, and the last man standing was WIOD in Miami. And it was right then and there that I learned how to be a professional in a very scary situation. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience. But go ahead.
Yes, but anyway, I've been out in public about this, so I don't mind. Actually, after I had left the Weather Channel, not of my own volition, they actually just, I keep surviving all these layoffs for year after year after year, and finally it got me in 2014 when they wanted to lay off, I think, a few people with higher salary or whatever. That had been there a long time, and they had to really, cut down. I went through a whole period back in 2015 of dire depression, and just to let you know, I mean, when I heard about Anthony Bonin, I thought, well, I always listen to Randy around 4 p.m., and I think I'll just go ahead and listen to her show again today. And I will tell you that I at about a year after I'd been laid off and being very listless and not getting out of the meteorology job and really feeling awful. I mean, you have to really feel awful this day. I grabbed up enough courage to walk from a condominium for about 2 miles, and then I jumped off a bridge and I survived a 40-foot fall.
Oh my God.
And I'm with you talking now, and I'm trying to make a long story short, but I don't know how I fell on my ass. That's the only reason why I'm talking with you. And now I'm blogging, and I'm having to do that, of course, from my bed. I'm a paraplegic. I can actually use my hands and head.
Oh wow! Oh my God! You see, and I'm telling you, Guy, that I'm such a coward. I was afraid that would be my fate, that I would jump out the 9th floor and that I would just, break some things and hurt myself and live maimed. And I was too scared to do it. But
well, thank God you were too scared. I mean,
was.
after waking up in a hospital after being in a month's coma, all my survival instincts kicked in, and I'm now a totally new person. So
well,
there
that's
we go.
awesome. You see, and I got to say, your story fits in nicely with a lot of the feelings I had, which was a loss of connection, a loss of purpose, a lack of admiration for your hard work and your good work, and it destroys the human spirit.
But yes, it does. But I had an anxiety over not being able to take care of myself or not having enough resources, which I actually did, which was very stupid. But you know what? I'm here. If I hadn't have done it, though, I'd be out now with Al Gore and his team teaching people about climate change.
Do it.
So shoulda, coulda, woulda. But maybe I could do that from a wheelchair at some point.
Definitely.
We'll see.
Oh, do it. Do it, and
We'll see.
Let's see. Let's see what could happen.
All right.
listen,
Well, I will let you go because I hear that music.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
And I will call you back. I'll call you back soon, and you can go to my site, guyonclimate.com, and you can see my crap. So there you go.
What is it? Guy what?
GUY on climate.com.
Guy on planet. Okay. .com.
No, guyonclimate.com. And I might do some pieces soon about depression and having to deal with the issue of climate change. I think I'll write that.
Yeah, I do too. I like that for you.
All right.
Call me
Well,
back.
have a great weekend.
Thank you. Wow.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
It used to be the G8 because Russia was in it, and now Russia's not in it. Now, I love our country.
Yeah.
I have been Russia's worst nightmare.
What?
If Hillary got in, I think Putin is probably going, man, I wish Hillary won, because you see what I do. But with that being said, Russia should be in this meeting. Why are we having a meeting without Russia being in the meeting? And I would recommend, and it's up to them, but Russia should be in the meeting. It should be a part of it. You know, whether you like it or not, and it may not be politically correct, but we have a world to run.
You and
in the G7, which used to be the G8, they threw Russia out. They should let Russia come back in, because we should have Russia at the negotiating table.
How many times is he going to say Russia?
You actually trained in Russian studies, the Russian language. You have firsthand experience with how Russian intelligence operates. Do you believe that Vladimir Putin has some kind of grip on President Trump?
I am convinced that Vladimir Putin has a grip on President Trump. And Anderson, when I first learned of the Steele dossier, it just rang true to me, because that's how the Russians do things. And before he became a candidate or president, Donald Trump was the perfect target for Russian intelligence. Here's someone who has no self-control, a sense of sexual entitlement, and intermittent financial crises.
Wow.
I mean, that's made to order for seduction by Russian intelligence. And look, I may be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Putin doesn't have a grip on him. But the dossier rings true. I think in the future, we're going to look back on the much maligned Christopher Steele, who took that dossier to the FBI, as something of a hero. And again, I hope I am wrong, but when you look at Trump's behavior patterns, his unwillingness ever to criticize Vladimir Putin, his slow-rolling sanctions, his unwillingness to create problems with Russia, even though as he attacks NATO, disrupts relations with the EU, how can you not draw the conclusions that Donald Trump, the President of the United States, is frightened of Vladimir Putin and his grip?
Zam. And then Donald Trump shows up at the G7 summit today, and one of the first things he does is he says how Russia ought to be here. Russia, and why isn't Russia here? And we need over. I mean, the headline should read: Trump invades Canada. for this G7. He blamed Canada for burning down the White House during the War of 1812. Canada didn't even exist during the War of 1812. It was the Brit. I mean, this. Then he stands there and says he's going to pardon Muhammad Ali, who doesn't need a freaking pardon. Muhammad Ali's lawyer put out a statement today going, I don't know why. I will let you figure out why he's ruminating about, Muhammad Ali needing a pardon, but he doesn't need a pardon because his conviction was overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court, and Jimmy Carter gave a blanket pardon to all draft dodgers back in '72. But this is unbelievable. I swear to God, I think he only wants Putin there because he wants somebody who will talk to him. And we don't want him to get the feeling of isolation or loss of purpose, do we? No, because that leads to, hanging yourself or jumping off bridges or jumping out of your building on Park Avenue. God only knows we all know this. I mean, if like I said, if we're going to have a celebrity president, how about Cher? Just saying. With the amount of compassion that I saw from Kim Kardashian, how about Kim? It's a very twisted, and you know what? I really do believe that this feeling that we're losing our identity as being the beacon of freedom and a place where we're the home of the brave, the land of the free. I think it's really playing with people's minds in a really, really significant way. I think that's why today so many people are willing to share their stories about this either intermittent depression or this constant feeling of depression, or even some of our callers, they'll tell me that they have to withdraw from the world and turn off the news because it hurts them. It literally is hurting their spirit. It's hurting their being. It's hurting their ability to function properly because it's so damn depressing to see our nation being isolated like this, to see our nation being divided like this, to see our nation being led by a guy who doesn't know simple, basic history that happened in his lifetime, for God's sake, who has no sense of proportionality or no sense of righteousness, no decency, no... I mean, why do we have a president who even feels it's necessary to say, well, I love our country, but... More importantly, why do we have a president who actually does need to say that? Seriously. Because we have a president for whom that is not true. That's why. This man is not loyal to you. He's not loyal to this country. And people are starting to understand it. People are starting to be embarrassed by him. I mean, this is what Lieutenant Colonel Peters, Ralph Peters, this is the man who called Barack Obama the P word on Fox News, who refused to renew his contract because he says it's turned into a giant propaganda machine. He also said that the Cult 45 people, the people who are part of this cult, are embarrassed. They're so embarrassed by him that they just tune him out now. They just make any excuse in the world that they have to for him.
Do you think, some of the hosts who, in prime time, do you think they believe the stuff they're saying about the deep state, what they're saying about the Department of Justice, about the FBI?
Well, I suspect Sean Hannity really believes it.
Because he's an
idiot. The others are smarter. They know what they're doing. It's bewildering to me. I mean, I wanted to just cry out and say, how can you do this? How can you lie to our country? How can you knowingly attack our Constitution, the bedrock of our system of government, the bedrock of our country? And when you go after the Constitution, you'd best beware, because you are doing phenomenal, indeed immeasurable damage.
Do you think we're heading to a constitutional crisis?
I think we're in a constitutional crisis right now, and it will end up either, barring unforeseen circumstances, either with impeachment or before the Supreme Court, or both. Our president seems to genuinely believe that he is above the law, and this is a situation we haven't been faced with before with this administration. Even Senator Joseph McCarthy in his witch hunt days never directly attacked the Constitution. This is utterly unprecedented.
You've referred to it as sort of a cult of Trump.
Yeah, I think a lot of Trump supporters are so embarrassed by how it's all turned out that they just cling to him. They won't let any facts penetrate their reality. I've been startled by relatively well-educated people, and I know, and some military veterans, who still insist that Trump can do no wrong, that he's some sort of messiah.
It's creepy. It's creepy. And, you know, this is what Trump chose to talk about today at the G. By the way, he's leaving the G7 early. He is not going to attend the meetings about climate change, the environment, or gender equality, which is good for the rest of the world because at least he won't be there heckling. Do you know? I mean, he's such a monster. He just truly is. And you know, this is so interesting because yesterday when Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters was on the TV saying that, you know, there's a cult, I call them Cult 45 because that's what they are. They're the cult of 45. But Trump actually said today at the, you know, before he got to the G7, he was leaving to go there, you know, invading Canada basically is what he did. And he said he can pardon himself. He is above the law. He says, oh, I don't have to pardon myself because I didn't do anything wrong. He's like a 5-year-old, you know?
No, I'm not above the law. I never want anybody to be above the law. But the pardons are a very positive thing for a president. I think you see the way I'm using them. And yes, I do have an absolute right to pardon myself, but I'll never have to do it because I didn't do anything wrong.
What a psycho. Okay, what a complete and utter psycho. I just, you know, listen, we've gone over the reasons why a president can't pardon himself. And of course, it's an unsettled question of law because no president has ever tried to pardon himself. But if you had a president who could do anything and could commit any crime and be unindictable and pardon himself if, God forbid, he was, you know, impeached, it would violate the Constitution because the Constitution specifically says that the president can pardon anybody, you know, except in cases of impeachment, which meant the president couldn't pardon himself. That's number one, because the remedy for a lawless president was impeachment, okay, was impeachment. And so there is absolutely nothing that allows for a president to pardon himself in the Constitution. Also, if you had a president, you know, and he's kind of rapey. This president is very rapey. And if you had a rapey president who felt that he could rape anybody he wanted, rape your daughter, or if you had a president who felt he could shoot people on Fifth Avenue and get away with it, or if you had a president who felt that he could, you know, take your house or, you know, declare Tennessee Trump town, you know, and just take everything because he thought it was pretty, we would have tyranny. We would have a king. We would have, you know, reason to go to war against our own government. And, you know, we do have a rapey president. So I just don't think that that's the truth about the pardon thing. But it is depressing. It is. It's depressing. And it makes you want to just turn away. But, you know, like I said, you can't not fight the good fight. You can't not do it because basically doing that is giving into lack of purpose. And as human beings, we all have purpose. Every single one of us is here for a purpose. And your purpose might be that you're a brilliant math teacher, but it also includes being a involved citizen. You know, everybody's got these dual purposes in life. You might have one talent that's like above all the others. For me, you know, like I said, I always was very proud of my work. I still am. I will always be proud of my work. But when you lose your lack of purpose or you lose your connection or you start withdrawing from the world, that is a sign that you need to find your inner coward, seriously, and know that you can't withdraw because the punishment for withdrawing is more severe. The damage it does to you is more severe than staying involved. As tough as it is. Justin in Denver.
Hi, Randy. How are you doing today?
You know, it's a tough day.
I bet. First of all, I want to say first time, long time.
Oh, hi.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And before, you know, I kind of want to gush over you for a second because I too have been listening since the Air America days, and you've been a big part of my life. You know,
but now maybe everybody understands why I groan every time they bring that place up. It's because it was the worst time. It was the best. You know, it's like the worst of times, the best of times. It was that dichotomy. It was that, you know, a complication. You know, it was not a good emotional time, although it was a great professional time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of relay a story to you because I felt it was kind of important to tell you like how much of an impact you've had on my life. it was right around that time when I was, I was struggling with a lot of things, and it was you who always was encouraging reading. And I was struggling to deal with the Bush presidency for a number of reasons for time.
Yeah.
But you got me to read Naomi Klein and Disaster Capitalism, and you inspired me to go on to go actually finish school.
Oh.
And I went in and I finished school. I managed to walk out with 2 degrees. I found the love of my life, which is history. And, it was you that did that. So, if you ever want to, if you ever need a reason to know why you're doing is important, me, you've touched me in my life in that way. And I just wanted to, first of all, thank you.
You make me cry. Thank you.
But on the matter of suicide, I actually just got out of the hospital last weekend for stopping myself from killing myself.
Oh my God.
And, it's right now I'm not working. I'm on Medicaid. I've been waiting for SSDI for about 2.5 years on a case. And
Christ.
The reason I crashed this time was because an incompetent PA decided to take me off one of my psych meds and didn't titrate it down. So, cutting cold turkey on psych meds is obviously a bad idea for anyone who understands who takes them. And I realized that I was going to harm myself, so I made sure to get myself into a safe place. And I'm also a diabetic, and on Medicaid, dealing with medications is a tightrope. Both for health reasons and for the mental health issues that I suffer. And I don't have a problem saying this anymore. My experiences with the mental health system, not to disparage anyone who's handled it, is that I feel like Americans or U.S. citizens really hate the mentally ill.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we are punished more often than not for dealing what we have to deal with on a daily basis.
See, this is what I said. When people whenever there's a shooting, they always go to the mental illness thing, right? And I always tell them that the mentally ill are more likely to be victims of violence than they are to commit it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
we have a very backwards culture.
Well, the stories, the music's coming up, but I'll just be real quick. Maybe you should reach out to Nicole, because it sounds like she had a little trouble dealing with it earlier today when she was talking about it. Or you and everyone in the audience. But the tendency is to withdraw. It's to harm yourself, not others. And I hate it every time I hear it.
Well, I haven't heard. So I'll go listen and drop her a quick email.
But so again, thank you, Randi, for everything you do.
Thank you.
You make a big difference in my life, and I know a lot of others.
I do too.
By Stinking Podcast.
I do too. Thank you. We will be here for you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Have a good day, Randi.
You too. You too. Stay well.
Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
If we're unable to make a deal, we'll terminate NAFTA. We'll have a better deal. If we are unable to make a deal, we will be better off. Right now, we are not going to live with the deals the way they are. European Union treats us very unfairly. Canada, very unfairly. Mexico, very unfairly. With that being said, I think we'll probably very easily make a deal.
Oh, God. This man is literally tearing us away from our allies, our natural allies, our neighbors, our natural allies, in order to favor Russia, which is what he went off on a rant this morning. This is a very dangerous man. And the crazy thing is, if we pulled out an NAFTA, Mexico is our number 2 trading partner. The European Union is our number 1 trading partner, meaning they buy what we produce. And if he pulls us out of NAFTA, American workers are going to be battered, not just bruised, but battered. Already we have this. Listen, if he wanted to go after China, if he wanted to, it would be a unique fight to have with one country. But he's blanketing the entire trade war over all of our natural allies, at the same time isolating the United States from the legitimate free democracies in the world in favor of China, who he just saved Chinese jobs with his ZTE. I mean, those ZTE phones are so prone to spying on Americans that the Pentagon has banned their use, and he just made a deal for money. For money, they'll give us $1 billion, and they continue to sell these spy phones. He's such an idiot. And the simple things in life, okay, the really easy ones, like Muhammad Ali doesn't need a pardon. The really simple issues, like whether or not there are good Nazis in this country, or whether or not you could really grab women by the P word, or, you know, whether you could really shoot somebody, or whether you could pardon yourself. The really simple things that are easy to understand, those are the ones you need to take in, because I get that trade is difficult. I get that trade is hard. I get that it takes a real, a serious commitment to study trade, to understand trade, to know that you can't fight a trade war with the entire world at the same time and still have partners that buy your pork, your cheese, your soybeans, your natural gas, all the things we export. You know, you can't do that all at once. And he's doing it. And obviously, he's bringing America to its knees at the behest of a foreign adversary. Two of them, actually, at the behest of the president for life, Xi, and the fraudulently elected Vladimir Putin. This is what's depressing this country. There's no question. The unfairness, the being out of control, the having no checks on this man. And they were talking, two Republicans were talking about, what it is that keeps the GOP close to this president. All the retiring members are speaking out. The Jeff Flakes of the world, the Corkers of the world, the Charlie Dents of the world, the David Jollies of all the people that are out are all saying this is a dangerous man. Okay, and they're trying to explain to Americans, what's wrong with their own party and defending their own party at the same time. And I'm not buying it, because either you have strength and wisdom and the ability to stand up to this president, or you don't, and you should leave.
Well, I'll tell you what, many Republican members in the House especially feel like they're kind of in a catch-22 situation. They're in a real predicament. They feel if they can't get too close to the president, because that will hurt them in the general election. At the same time, they can't move too far away, because that will hurt them in a primary election. So I think that's the raw politics behind all this. Now, that said, I'm a little disappointed more haven't spoken up, but I believe this trade issue is a seminal issue. It's a core principle for Republicans, and I believe you're going to see more Republicans speak up now over this trade issue more than any other.
And we actually had a Republican on our air last night who did say that, said he can't trade his principles for that, because he didn't believe in what the president was doing with trade and with tariffs. But Representative Jolly, it's like leaving office is some kind of truth serum for lawmakers. Are you disappointed in your former colleagues?
Yeah, look, I wish more would speak up. I happened to when I was in office, but it came with real consequences, including loss of support of the party and, frankly, party financing in my reelection. Don, to give a lot of former colleagues the benefit of the doubt, however, many of them represent Trump constituencies, right? Constituencies that do support the president. And these members of Congress have a obligation to give voice to those constituents as well. But in areas when you're talking about national security, these fake allegations of Spygate, and when you're talking about simply matters of integrity coming out of this White House, questions of integrity on broad social issues of race and gender and so forth, more Republican members of Congress, whether they're leaving or not, need to speak out. Their legacies will reflect whether they speak out or not.
Exactly. Exactly. And, in the end, you have to be proud of what you did in a difficult time. This is why I always say to you, do the right thing when no one's looking. That is the test of integrity. That is the test of your character. To do the right thing when no one's looking. And I got to tell you, if you're a representative and you're, representing a Trump constituency, your obligation is not to give voice to their heinous, isolationism or their crazy racism or their invocation of dictatorships or fascist ideology. Your job now becomes to educate them, to tell them why this president isn't trustworthy, why this president doesn't put America first, how he is putting adversaries' hopes, wishes, desires, dreams, and intent to destroy the United States, to destroy our NATO alliances, so that they can conquer Western, Eastern Europe. I mean, you need to educate these people. It's a tough road because a lot of these people have suffered at the hands of your decisions about education, your decisions to defund education, your decisions to make them destitute, your decisions to not bring business to your constituents, your decision not to put broadband in your rural district so that businesses don't even want to come there because there's no connectivity. There's no educated population. There's nothing there for them to take advantage of. It's as a desirable place to locate a big business. Trust me, I couldn't locate to rural America. I could locate to Costa Rica because they've got fiber optics. Rural Costa Rica, I could go and build myself a studio. Because at the very least, there's high-speed broadband, there's high-speed internet. But even in my little town, and I live in a very little town, there's fiber optic. But I go to rural America and there's not even cable. There's nothing. There's the kids, and I'm going to put my business there? How do I put my business there? I have no population that has any experience in engineering. I have no population that has any experience in broadcast or video editing or audio editing or running a board or how to use a Mac or, how to get the data, the usage of the data down and make it cost effective to put out podcast. There's no one there. There's not a single person there. And that's because their representative hasn't brought it to them, hasn't advocated for them, hasn't gotten the money for their district, hasn't done anything except provoke racism, division, anti-gay ideology, declare there's a war on Christmas. Dude, these people are literally ignorant and starving because of you. You don't have an obligation to give voice to their racism. You have an obligation to educate them and tell them what is possible. And why the American dream is passing them by. And it has nothing to do with anybody other than the representatives they have, the 2 senators and the House member. That's what's depriving them of the ability to... Well, listen, here's another great story. Trump is not... The Supreme Court, Texas and 12 other Republican states have moved to bring a case to the Supreme Court to say that the remnants of Obamacare, the pre-existing conditions clause, is unconstitutional. And they want to be able to allow their donors, big insurance, to start charging people like me and you more or deny us insurance altogether if we've had or have a pre-existing condition. And Jeff Sessions, our Attorney General, has decided not to appear in front of the court to argue for the constitutionality of the remnants of Obamacare. They're not even going to show up. Now, what is that going to do to millions of Americans who have pre-existing conditions, to millions of Americans who have children who have pre-existing conditions and they're not even 5 years old? The rest of their lives, they won't be able to afford or get insurance. Now, he's already started issuing these sham policies again that cover nothing. But this is crazy. Every attorney general fights for existing law and its constitutionality. Should it be challenged, this attorney general is not going to fight for existing law. He is going to allow 12 Republican states to make the case that pre-existing conditions... Now, you just heard from a bunch of people, so many of them waiting for their Social Security disability claim 2 years. I mean, to the point where they're so without a fight. They're so left. They're so isolated. They're so deprived of basic health care that they're considering taking their own lives. People are on Medicaid and they're trying to destroy it. And now they want to say that the mandatory obligation that insurance companies have to take all comers is unconstitutional. On behalf of the insurance companies, they're not going to fight. They're not going to show up. They're not going to. I mean, this is unbelievable. I have the letter from Jeff Sessions. Here's the letter. Here it really is. And it's not that long. But he says, after careful consideration and with the approval of the President of the United States, I've determined that in Texas versus the United States, the Justice Department will not defend the constitutionality of 26 U.S.C. 5000A, which is Obamacare, and will argue that certain provisions of the Affordable Care Act are inseverable from that provision, meaning that since in the tax bill, the tax cut, Congress said the individual mandate is unconstitutional, even though the Supreme Court said, no, you can tax people for going without insurance. You can. Congress, took away the individual mandate by legislation. They put it into the tax bill. And so now they're saying, since the individual mandate doesn't apply anymore, all of Obamacare has to fail, including the pre-existing conditions part. And Jeff Sessions says, with the approval of the president, he's going to let that case, Texas versus the United States, go forward without any representation by the U.S. government. Nobody's going to show up in court. This man is literally destroying our children's lives. He's destroying our lives. I have a pre-existing condition, as you know. You probably do. I'm sure many children in this audience. They tried to do away with the CHIP program, too. They're trying to defund that so he can build his stupid wall. He passed a Veterans Choice Bill this week, and he wants to know, I know, uncovered it. And the reason is because there wasn't one single dollar in it. There wasn't a penny. It costs, if veterans like me were really to be able to get private health insurance or go see a private doctor, I would take the VA coverage instead of paying over what do I pay, $1,300 a month for health insurance now, and it's going to go up because I have a pre-existing condition.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Just a little tiny bit of housekeeping here, okay? Yesterday, I showed you our Randi Rhodes custom sneakers, and they're women's sizes only, and 5 women wanted them. 5 women literally donated $100 a piece to get these sneakers. Now, your names are Leah S., Donna C., Kathleen M., Roseanne B., and Gail C. You know who you are because you made this big donation, and I want to send you the sneakers. But I know Leah wants a size 8 and Donna wants a size 7. But Kathleen, Roseanne, and Gail, I don't know what sizes you want, and none of you gave me your addresses. So I just want you to know I don't have your credit card information. So it's not like I have your address. I don't. I get none of your personal information. I don't want your personal information unless you give it to me. And I need it now because I want to send you these sneakers because you gave me $100 a piece. That was just a beautiful thing to do. So Leah, Donna, Kathleen, Roseanne, and Gail, you know who you are because you made this awesome donation and show amazing support, especially Gail. Gail is a constant giver, and I love you. But I can't send them to you without an address, and I will take care of it over the weekend. If you just send me, it's info@randirhodes.com. Just go to randirhodes.com and click on Contact Us, and it'll, open up an email for you. And just let me know what size and where to, and I will get them off to you. So that was bothering me. All right, Greg in South Carolina.
Hey, Randy, how are you? I just have three real quick comments, and I'll get off the air and listen to your responses. First, I want to say Thank you for taking a break. You're like my little Joan of Arc. I appreciate that. But you step into that storm like today, and so much information you're giving out at the same time you're hearing these stories. So truly amazing job you're doing. The other thing on a lighter side I wanted to say is when Giuliani was talking about Comey and Trump possibly, being able to shoot anybody, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, well, you better not shoot at Comey. He comes from the FBI. That is a gun culture. I mean, that is not the person. That's your Boy Scout. What's their motto? Always be prepared. Yeah. Okay. So, and the last comment is sadly about Anthony Bourdain. I, too, was one of the ones who just couldn't take it anymore. Did try to take my own life with sleeping pills. The only reason why I survived is I could not go to the bathroom, so I just had to go to the emergency room. And I just told them, look, I tried to take my own life, and I just can't go to. So they took me in. I spent 2 weeks in the psych ward. And, whatever reason you want to say, I had to go through a lot of therapy with them. But the bottom line is I am a stronger person for it.
Yeah, me too.
Things don't always come out the way we want. But I kind of wish, the first thing they try to get done for me was to get me in touch with my daughter. Everything else you say is right. But if I think they're trying to get you to a link where you're able to hook on to someone who cares for you.
It's all about connections, and people wonder why people join gangs. It's because they're trying to replace family, or people wonder why they join white supremacy groups. It's because they're unpopular and they want to have somebody that's like-minded in their racist hatred. People need connections, whether they're decent connections or indecent connections. Human beings need to be connected, and that's why travel is such a great thing, because it connects you to the rest of the world. If you have nobody to connect to, then travel, and you'll find cultures that welcome you in. You'll find, what I mean? It leaves a mark on you that is absolutely valuable. This is what I learned. I learned to go travel. I learned to go to other cultures. I was raised with many, many cultures around me. You saw the snippet of Anthony Bourdain in Queens. I mean, you couldn't throw a rock and not hit a foreign a culinary delight in my neighborhood, because of people from all over the world. So I was exposed to that. But I'm telling you, it's all about loss of connection, and in this weird case, I'm so glad that opioid-induced constipation saved your life.
But I'm going to hang up. I just want to say I hope in some small way Anthony has something to explain it to his daughter. There's no explaining this. I understand. But his daughter is going to be running for the rest of her life. Daddy, why did you leave me?
Yeah,
and
I
that's
know.
all
I know, but it is a weird thing. When you get so depressed, and you would know this, when you get so depressed, you start to tell yourself that your family would be better off without you. You actually start to process that you're so worthless and so purposeless, and there's no reason for you to remain, and your family's going to be better off without you, either because you have a life insurance policy or because you view yourself as a burden on your family. Yeah. Trust me, that is never the case. Never the case. What you would do to a living parent as a child who was letting your parents survive you, and what you do to children by leaving them in this manner. Just focus on that if that's all you can do.
Brady, I want to get off because there might be somebody else trying to reach out.
There are. I'm not surprised that there are so many people sharing their stories today, because I obviously know what massive depression is. And I obviously know that there are so many people in this country who feel that the world would be better off without them, but they're wrong. They're literally wrong. And like I said, if the only lesson you could take from me today is that you will go to hell if you take your own life, you will, then let that stay in your head. Let that be part of your decision. Now, I could sit here and tell you you are not worthless, you are important, that you were born for a reason, that you are here for a reason, that somebody is connected to you. And if you should remove yourself from that connection, then they will suffer too. I could tell you all these things, but it's very hard to process when you feel that that's not true about you. But the guilt of going, the scary part of going to hell, that saved me. I swear to God it did. So go watch The Devil and Miss Jones. Seriously. Judy in South Pasadena.
Hi, Randy.
Hey.
It's so good to have you back, and I hope you had a pretty restful vacation. I had a couple of things. The thing about people taking their own life, I do think about Kate Spade's 13-year-old daughter, and Anthony Bourdain has a small child, and I can't even think of how Jessica would be if you were not on the planet at this time. You know, I just feel like when you have children, it's not really about you anymore
unless you get so depressed and so sick and so sad and so compromised by mental illness that you really convince yourself that they would be better off without you, which is it is part of the disease.
I'm so
grateful that, you put your children, in this equation, and that you understand that you need to be there for them, because you do. You do. No matter what. No matter how bad you may, make a mistake, you may screw up, you may make a bad decision, something horrible, I don't know. They will always, always want you with them. Always. They will always want you in their life. But the sickness is that you start to believe that there's no purpose for you being here, including your children will be better off without you. That's the sickness. That's the disease.
Yeah, I had no idea that you went through that to that great, because I've been listening to you since Air America days as well, and
oh my God,
I just didn't know that you were. You were my escape. I was teaching in during lunch. I would just jump in my car and go and listen to you and drive around. But the other thing I wanted to say, just to switch gears a little bit, the thing about I hope you don't mind, but the thing about Russia and the G8, Russia has half of the GDP of France.
Right. It's a failing country. And the only thing that's saving it is Donald Trump. I mean, it's a country where people literally make $450 a week. It is a destitute country. It is a bad economy. It is an oligarchy. It is a kleptocracy. It doesn't work. And the only reason why Vladimir Putin chose Donald Trump is because of the reasons that Lieutenant Colonel Peters laid out. This is a man who always needs foreign money because American banks won't lend to him. This is a man who has an entitlement issue, who thinks he's sexually entitled to do whatever he wants. He's very rapey. And this is a man who is such an egomaniac that, being worshipped by an autocrat, being worshipped by a dictator, for him makes him strong. This is a very dangerous man, and we won't know the complete damage that has been done to our country until way after he's gone. The damage he's done to our Justice Department, the damage he's done to the EPA, the damage he's done to our climate, the damage he's done to the judicial branch by putting these racists on the bench. I mean, the amount of damage this man has done is not going to be known for a really long time. That's why it matters who the president is.
I know. And, when you just read that thing about, we were talking about Jeff Sessions, I was thinking of this huge, it's so obvious how different Barack Obama is from this,
oh my God, day and night.
Day and night. But then also look at Jeff Sessions and Eric Holder. Could you ever think of all the stuff Eric Holder did when he was Attorney General? And it's just, this guy is he's just such a lying little elf, he's not, the reason why he has to lie so much, truly, is because what he's doing is anti-American. What he's doing is so foreign to democracy. And that's why he has to lie all the time about everything he's doing. He is literally bought and paid for by a foreign adversary or two. Steve in Oklahoma.
Hey, Randy, so glad you're back.
Thank you.
I think today's show is evidence of why we need to support the show. I'm a teacher, so I would support more, but I do have a podcast.
Got it.
I'm sorry if I'm a little shaky. I want to tell my story. I'm a high school teacher, and I'm honest with my students about mental health, which also being a teacher with all these school shootings going on, it's very unnerving. But when we talk about mental health, my story, when I was a senior in high school, I attempted to take my own life because I'm gay. And
in Oklahoma.
And in Oklahoma, yeah, exactly. And when I got home from the hospital, my dad turned on the TV in my room, and something had happened to the World Trade Center. A plane had flown into it. And so I'm watching people making the choice to take their own life or perish in this fire, having just tried to take my own life. So it's so crucial that we reach out to somebody, that we have resources like yourself and each other to reach out to, and when the Republicans bring up mental health, whenever there's a school shooting to avoid the gun issue,
right?
There's no follow through whatsoever. Like the VA bill, no funding,
zero. And to actually implement that and allow veterans like me to get access to private doctors with the VA, TRICARE, or whatever, is $50 billion. Okay, that's what it would really cost, and that bill had $0. Zero.
Yeah, it's so hypocritical, and it's
a lie. Let's just call it what it is. It's a giant lie. That was a shell of a bill. It was a hoax. It was a scam. It was a sham. And and if you think that he cares about anybody, especially veterans, he put Dr. Ronnie Jackson as the nominee for the VA, and he's under investigation now. I mean, everyone around this president is under investigation. There's nobody with clean hands. This is a very corrupt administration. This is a terrible time in America. I just wanted people to understand today that you matter to me. And when I was depressed, and when like I said, I was always proud of my work. I'm sure you're proud of your work too, because you're a teacher and it's important work. But that doesn't mean that you're immune from depression, or you're immune from isolation, or you're immune from... Right. And it has no but I want you to know you matter to me, because when I needed a reason to live, going to work, even in that environment, going there and closing the door, this is why I isolated myself at work, because there was not a friendly face there. There was no one supportive there. But I would get on the air and I would find my purpose for the day. I'd go home and go right back into depression. But those few hours, that's why I worked 4 hours a day. Everybody goes, why did you work 4 hours a day? Because it was the only time that I felt I had a purpose. The hours before the show and the hours after the show were the darkest, bleakest, saddest hours of my life, of my day. And so I stayed on the air as long as I could. And that's how I got through it, and it was because of you. So if people are thanking me, I just want you to know I'm thanking you right back, because that's the only way that I got through those years. And it's funny, because Scotty here, who's working with me now, he was dating Jessica at the time, right? And they came up to New York because, they knew something was wrong. And Jessica and Scott came up to New York, and they saw me, and they understood I was melting. They called my mother. They called my ex-husband. They brought my whole family to come because something was wrong. So,
well, as an educator, you provide such a valuable service. You educate us.
Well, you give it right back to me. I just want you to know you always have. You always have.
Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you. So, we could go on and on for 4 hours with this. I think you understand how prevalent this is and how important an issue this suicidal depression that has blanketed our country is. I just want you to understand that there are good people here for you. There are people who know. There are people who get it. There are people who've been through it, who understand it, and they know that on the other side of it is something better, something brighter. I know it seems like you're trudging through mud and it's just never going to lift. It will. There are professionals, there are people, there's connections, there's purpose, there's a reason for you being here, and that you matter to me. You matter to us, Team Randi. Really, we're a small-knit group, but we love you. We think you're valuable. We find purpose in you. Don't let anybody tell you. Not even you. Don't believe that dark little voice in your head that tells you that you have no reason to be here. You do. And we know it. And we see you. And we hear you. And we feel you. Make a call if you need to make a call. Make a call to a close friend, a relative, or to the suicide hotline if you need to. And talk it through, even if it's just temporarily, so that you have time to get help. Buy a stinking podcast.